Is there a prophecy about Jesus in Plato's Republic? Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion. Let's take a look at a video. Well, hopefully a person doesn't have to look up when Plato lived to know that if he talked about Jesus, it would have to have been before Jesus' birth. But let's take a look at Plato's Republic. This is the Loeb Classical Library's translation from 2013 of books 1 through 5. We're looking in book 2, the very end of section 361e and the beginning of section 362. And I've copied the Greek and the translation from the LCL volume, and it reads, "What they will say is that, such being his character, the just person will be whipped, stretched on the rack, and imprisoned, his eyes will be burned out, and finally, after suffering every evil, he will be impaled on a stake, and come to realize that not to be just, but to seem just, is what one must aim for." And so the message that Plato is delivering here is that seeming just is more socially beneficial than actually being just. Now, you'll notice that nothing in here actually sounds like what happened to Jesus. You've got to look at an older translation to see any resonance with the story of Jesus, because in older translations, this word here will not be translated impaled on a stake, it will be translated crucified. But this word does not mean crucified, but it also doesn't really mean impaled on a stake. It's kind of in between, but it is closer to impaled on a stake than crucified. What's going on here? Well, in the New Testament, the word for crucified is stavro. And in Athens, when Plato was writing, crucifixion wasn't really a method of execution, but neither was impaling on a stake. That was more Persian. They had two main ways to execute somebody in this time in Athens. One was consuming hemlock. This was kind of the luxury method of execution. This is what is supposed to have happened to Socrates. You can check out this article, Capital Punishment in Classical Athens, for more details on that. But the other type of punishment is described on these 2 pages. And what they describe is what they call apotympanismos, which is basically being shackled to a board and then left out to die from exposure and from consumption by birds and things like that. So they've discovered bodies that had these shackles around the hands and the feet and the neck, and they would have shackled them on the board with their hands at their side, and they just would have been left out in the sun, and wild animals would have consumed them. So that was the other method of execution in Athens when Plato was writing. And so that's almost certainly what this word, anaskindelaphthesite, was trying to communicate. But because that particular method of execution is not well known to us, we don't have a single word to describe precisely that thing, we usually have to choose between crucifixion or impaled on a stake. So this is not a prophecy about Jesus. Not only does it describe a bunch of things that have nothing to do with Jesus, but the thing that is supposed to have to do with Jesus, crucifixion, is actually not about crucifixion. Now, for this content creator and others who share this stuff, I don't know precisely what your own rhetorical goals are, if it is just to get attention or clout or money, or if you're going to use whatever information you come across to try to gin up this collective effervescence of ignorant fervor, or if you are at all concerned for actually sharing the truth. If it is the latter, you need to do so much better. You need to learn to think critically and Google competently. If it's any of the other things, then you're just doing what people criticize Christians for doing, using lies and misinformation to try to gin up phony faith. Do better. And the fit for this video has been Gambit.